What if I told you that a simple 5-cent coin, the kind you've probably spent without thinking, has sold for over $300,000? Yes, a tiny Jefferson nickel, hiding a rare mint error, turned pocket change into a small fortune. And today, we're uncovering 5 incredible 5-cent coins that look ordinary but could be worth tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands. Check your nickels carefully, because one of them might change your life. In 1987, most people who used the Jefferson 5-cent coin never imagined that one small minting mistake could turn an ordinary nickel into an extraordinary treasure. Yet somewhere inside the US Mint, during routine production, a series of errors slipped quietly through the machinery and into circulation. Those unexpected flaws would one day transform certain 1987 P. Jefferson nickels into some of the most surprising modern collectibles in American coinage. Today, a rare error from this year can command prices between $62,200 and an astonishing $280,500, making it hard to believe that such value could come from a simple 5-cent piece. To understand why these nickels became so valuable, you have to go back to how the mint was operating in the mid-1980s. Production was running full speed, trying to meet rising national demand for everyday coins. Billions of nickels were being struck at the Philadelphia Mint, where the 1987 P variety was produced. When production is high and pressure is constant, the smallest misalignment or mechanical hiccup can create something unexpected. Most errors are caught and recycled immediately, but a few rare pieces escape, entering the world with characteristics unlike any ordinary nickel. One of the most desirable errors from 1987 P nickels involves dramatic double die strikes. A double die error occurs when the die, the steel tool used to press the design into the blank planchet, slightly shifts or rotates between impressions during preparation. When that flawed die is used to strike hundreds or thousands of coins, those coins leave the mint showing clear doubling on parts of the design. On the obverse of the Jefferson nickel, collectors examine the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the year, 1987, for any signs of doubling. Strong, crisp doubling can transform an unnoticed pocket coin into a rare collector's dream. Another eye-catching variety is the off-center strike, where the blank planchet fails to seat properly inside the press. Instead of receiving a fully centered image, the coin shows part of Jefferson's profile shifted to one side, leaving an empty crescent-shaped area. The more off-center the strike, and the more the date remains visible, the higher the value. Some 1987 P nickels show dramatic 40% or even 60% off-center errors, making them instantly noticeable and incredibly rare. Collectors also search for clipped planchet errors, where a portion of the coin's edge appears to be missing, almost like a bite was taken out of it. This isn't damage from circulation. It happens when the long strip of metal used to punch out blank coins overlaps incorrectly, causing the cutting machine to slice through an area already punched. Coins with full, clean, curved clips and well-struck designs often sell for high prices because they are so visually distinctive. But one of the rarest and most fascinating errors associated with 1987 P nickels involves striking on the wrong planchet. Occasionally, a leftover planchet meant for a different denomination gets mixed into the hopper. When a nickel design is struck onto a planchet intended for something like a penny or a dime, the result is an odd-looking, lightweight coin with unusual metal composition. Some of these wrong planchet 1987 P errors have become the most valuable pieces known from the year. When authenticated by major grading services like PCGS or NGC, such errors are capable of reaching premium auction prices well beyond typical expectations. Another intriguing type is the broad strike error, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally keeps the metal from spreading outward. The result is a wide, flattened coin with stretched edges. While less dramatic than off-center strikes, broad-struck nickels still attract serious attention when the date and mint mark remain intact. During the mid-1980s, quality control at the mint was improving, but no system is perfect. Dies wear down, machines jam, and human oversight is limited when millions of coins are produced daily. The combination of heavy production volume and occasional mechanical quirks made the 1987 P nickels vulnerable to these unique minting errors. And because errors were supposed to be caught and destroyed, any that reached circulation were already rare from the moment they entered the public. What fuels the high auction prices isn't just rarity, it's condition. A coin with a major error that also survived decades without heavy wear becomes something truly exceptional. Error coins graded in mint state condition can multiply in value dramatically, which is why pristine examples from 1987 have shocked collectors at auctions. Some of these exceptional era nickels have sold for $62,200, while the rarest and highest grade pieces, especially Rome planchet or dramatic double-die varieties, have climbed as high as $280,500, a staggering return for a coin originally worth only 5 cents. Collectors treasure 1987 errors because they capture a moment in minting history where accidental variations slipped through the cracks during a period of rapid production. These coins reflect the unpredictability of mass manufacturing, the idea that perfection is impossible when billions of coins are created in a fast-paced environment. Each era tells its own story: a misaligned planchet, a tired die, a misfed strip of metal, or a mix-up in the bin of blanks. For anyone hoping to find one, the search begins with the details. Examine Jefferson's portrait closely. Look at the eye, the jawline, and the lettering for any hint of doubling. Inspect the rim for clipping or spreading. Look for odd shapes, strange alloys, or incorrect thickness. Sometimes, era coins hide in the most unexpected places: inherited coin jars, old change drawers, forgotten rolls, or even in boxes of nickels stored away decades ago. The thrill of discovery keeps collectors searching, hoping that the next handful of change could hold something rare and valuable. Over the years, as more people become aware of mint errors, the demand for notable examples continues to grow. Since the mint never intended these pieces to exist, their numbers are fixed. Once they're gone, there are no more to be found. This rarity pushes prices upward, especially for high-grade or dramatic errors. The 1987 Jefferson nickel has slowly built its reputation as one of the modern-era coins capable of stunning collectors with unexpected value. Imagine holding one of these rare nickels today. A 5-cent piece from 1987, carrying a flaw that was never meant to leave the mint, suddenly becomes a treasure worth more than a luxury car, a year of college tuition, or even a small home, depending on its rarity and grade. A simple mistake crafted by machinery and overlooked by inspectors becomes a piece of numismatic history capable of selling for $62,200 to $280,500, a reminder that even in the smallest objects, extraordinary stories can shine. Every era coin tells a tale of chance, imperfection, and discovery. And the 1987 Jefferson nickel stands as one of the most surprising examples, proof that even the tiniest details can turn something ordinary into something unforgettable. In 2005, the U.S. Mint released one of the most symbolic and beautifully designed nickels ever made, the Jefferson 5-cent coin celebrating the Lewis and Clark expedition of 1805. It was part of the Westward Journey series, a special commemorative run honoring one of the most important explorations in American history. Millions of these coins entered circulation, and most people who spent them never thought twice about their value. But hidden among those ordinary 2005 nickels were a few remarkable minting errors that would later transform a simple 5-cent coin into something worth a small fortune. Some of these rare error pieces have shocked collectors by selling for anywhere from $40,850 to an unbelievable $129,000, proving again that even the newest U.S. coins can hide extraordinary surprises. The 2005 design marked a major shift for the Jefferson nickel. For the first time in decades, his portrait was significantly updated. The obverse featured a forward-facing version of Jefferson with a more detailed facial expression and more refined lettering. On the reverse, this particular version featured the famous scene of a bison, a nod to the wildlife Lewis and Clark encountered on their journey across the unexplored American frontier. Because this design was only minted for a short time, collectors already consider it unique. But the rare errors made during production at the Philadelphia Mint make certain 2005 examples even more extraordinary. One of the most desirable errors from this year involves dramatic double die obverse and reverse strikes. A double die error occurs when the die used to press the design into the coin shifts, or vibrates slightly between strikes. When that flawed die is then used to mint thousands of coins, each one carries a doubled image. On the 2005 nickels, doubling can often be seen on Jefferson's facial features, especially his eye, nose, and lips. Collectors also check key inscriptions like "Liberty in God We Trust" and the date 2005 for any visible doubling. On the reverse, the bison's legs, the texture of its body, and the word America are known spots where doubling can appear. Strong doubling dramatically increases the value of the coin, especially when paired with sharp details and minimal wear. Another highly valuable error from the 2005 P series is the speared bison variety. This dramatic minting issue shows a long, raised die gouge running through the body of the bison, making it look as though the animal has been struck with a spear. This line is not damage from circulation, it's a genuine die flaw that occurred when a fine metal chip scraped across the die's surface. Coins showing this spear-like line became one of the most famous modern nickel errors, and collectors have paid massive premiums to own one. High-grade examples have created intense bidding wars among numismatists, especially certified mint-state pieces. There are also off-center strike errors, where the coin's blank planchet was not correctly centered in the press. Some of these off-center 2005 P nickels display only part of Jefferson's face, or sections of the bison are missing entirely. The more dramatic the off-center shift, and the more complete the date, the more valuable the coin becomes. These kinds of errors are visually striking and rare, so they attract strong collector interest. Another variety that gained attention is the clipped planchet error, caused when the metal strip used to punch out blank planchets overlaps incorrectly. This results in a clean, curved area missing from the coin's edge. Clipped planchets from 2005 tend to stand out because the design elements remain crisp, and the distinctive blades of the clip give the coin a unique identity. Well-preserved clipped planchet errors can easily sell far above normal prices, especially when authenticated by trusted grading companies. A more unusual and incredibly valuable mistake involves wrong planchet errors. Occasionally, a leftover blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime, accidentally gets struck with the nickel design. These coins appear too thin, too light, and sometimes even a different color. Wrong planchet errors are already rare, but finding one from the 2005 P. Lewis and Clark series takes rarity to another level. These unusual coins have been known to sell for breathtaking prices, with the most exceptional examples reaching or exceeding $129,000, making them some of the most valuable modern nickels ever documented. Collectors also keep a close eye out for broad strike errors, which occur when the collar that normally keeps the coin's shape fails. Without the collar, the metal spreads outward during striking, creating a wide, flat shape. Although less visually dramatic than an off-center strike, broad-struck coins from this year with full dates can still be quite valuable. Because the 2005 nickel series was a major redesign, the U.S. Mint was operating with updated equipment and new engraving details. Anytime machinery is adjusted, new dies are created, or designs are modified, the chances of minting flaws increase. The Philadelphia Mint pushed out enormous quantities of these commemorative nickels, and even with strong quality control, some surprising errors slipped through the cracks. These coins entered circulation unnoticed, ending up in cash registers, pockets, coin rolls, and change jars across the country. Over the years, collectors have discovered these mistakes in the most unexpected places. Stories have surfaced of people finding valuable 2005 P errors inside bank-wrapped rolls and even in loose change. The possibility that a nickel worth only 5 cents could actually be worth thousands sparks the imagination and fuels the hunt for more. It's this excitement, the idea that treasure could be hiding in plain sight, that makes these era nickels so popular among new and experienced collectors alike. The true value of these coins comes from a combination of rarity, visual impact, and condition. Era coins that remain in sharp, high-grade mint state condition can command the highest premium. When these coins are graded by institutions like PCGS or NGC and assigned top-tier ratings, the prices can leap dramatically. This is where the most astonishing figures come from, coins selling for $40,850 to $129,000, depending on the era and condition. The 2005 P. Jefferson nickel featuring the Lewis and Clark 1805 design captures more than just history. It represents the beauty of unexpected mistakes, flaws that turned a commemorative coin into a remarkable collectible. Each era tells its own story, from a doubled inscription to a speared bison, from a misaligned planchet to a shocking wrong planchet strike. These coins offer a glimpse into the unpredictable world of minting, where precision and imperfection collide. So imagine holding a coin from 2005, something that has passed through countless hands. You flip it over and see Jefferson staring back at you, then the majestic bison. But look closer. Maybe you notice a doubling on the lettering, a mysterious line through the bison, or an off-center imprint. Suddenly, that nickel isn't worth only 5 cents anymore. It might be worth thousands. It might even be one of the rare few worth $40,850 to $129,000. 000. Modern coins rarely achieve such impressive values, which makes the 2005 P. Lewis and Clark era nickels even more extraordinary. These are the kinds of coins that remind collectors that history is still being written, that treasures still appear, and that even the newest coins can carry secrets waiting to be discovered. In 2005, the U.S. Mint revived one of the most iconic designs in American coin history, the buffalo. For the first time in decades, the Jefferson nickel featured a bold bison on the reverse, a tribute to the classic buffalo nickel from the early 20th century. Millions of people received these coins in their everyday change, spending them without a second thought. But hidden among those ordinary 2005 P buffalo nickels were a handful of extraordinary minting errors that would later turn a simple 5-cent coin into a collector's dream. Some of these rare pieces have sold for astonishing values, ranging from $31,000 to an incredible $152,000, proving that even a modern nickel can become a true treasure. The 2005 P buffalo nickel marked a major moment in U.S. coinage. Part of the Westward Journey series, it celebrated the spirit of exploration, discovery, and the vast American frontier. On the obverse, Thomas Jefferson appeared in a new, dynamic portrait, an angled view with the word, Liberty, written in his own handwriting. On the reverse, the powerful image of an American bison stood in full detail, capturing both strength and history. Because this design was produced for only 1 year, collectors already pay special attention to it. But what makes some of these coins truly valuable are the rare errors that slipped through during the minting process at the Philadelphia Mint. One of the most famous and valuable errors from the 2005 P buffalo nickel is the doubled die error. When the die that impresses the coin's design shifts slightly during its creation, it can produce doubling on the final coin struck. Collectors search for doubling on Jefferson's eye, lips, and nose, as well as on the handwritten Liberty. Strong doubling on these sensitive points can instantly elevate the coin's value. On the reverse, enthusiasts look at the bison's horn, shoulder, legs, and the lettering around the rim for signs of doubling. A dramatic double die can transform a common coin into a showpiece capable of reaching impressive auction prices. Another highly prized error is the speared bison variety, perhaps the most dramatic modern nickel error discovered in decades. This error features a long, raised die gouge piercing through the bison's body, making it appear as though the animal has been impaled. This was not caused by damage or circulation, it was a flaw in the die itself. When collectors first discovered this variety, it created immediate buzz, and certified high-grade examples became some of the most sought-after 2005 nickels ever found. Some of these coins have shocked the numismatic community, fetching prices far beyond what anyone expected, pushing into the tens of thousands and adding enormous intrigue to this design. The 2005 P buffalo nickels also produced several striking off-center errors, where the blank planchet was not properly aligned within the press. These off-center strikes can range from subtle shifts to dramatic misalignments where as much as half of the design is missing. The value depends on how far off-center the strike is and whether the date remains fully visible. If both the off-center error is dramatic and the date is intact, the coin can be worth significantly more. Some of the most eye-catching off-center examples have sold in the $30,000 and beyond range, especially when preserved in high mint state condition. Another major category of valuable errors is the clipped planchet, where part of the coin's edge is missing due to a misfeed in the metal strip before blanks are cut. These clips often create a clean crescent-shaped area missing from the coin. When combined with a visible date and strong details, clipped planchet errors can attract enthusiastic bidding from collectors. The 2005 P buffalo design makes these errors especially interesting because the strong, bold bison image contrasts sharply with the clipped area, giving the coin a distinct and memorable appearance. More unusual but extremely valuable are the wrong planchet strikes, where the coin is accidentally struck onto a blank meant for another denomination, like a dime planchet or a foreign coin planchet. These errors are rare in modern mintage, and finding one from the 2005 P buffalo nickel series makes the coin exceptionally desirable. Wrong planchet errors can be thinner, lighter, and sometimes the wrong color. When authenticated by major grading companies, these unusual coins can reach staggering prices, sometimes climbing close to $152,000, making them among the most valuable modern nickels ever produced. Collectors also search for broad strike errors, which happen when the retaining collar that shapes the coin's rim fails. Without the collar, the metal spreads out, making the coin appear wider and flatter. Although less dramatic than off-center errors, Broad strikes with clean, strong details and a visible date can still hold significant value, especially for a one-year-only design like this one. Because the 2005 Buffalo nickel was part of a special commemorative series, the mint was adjusting equipment, producing new dies, and changing artistic details, conditions ripe for occasional mistakes. As billions of coins were produced, even small deviations could create unexpected errors. Some of these rare pieces slipped unnoticed into circulation, waiting to be discovered by sharp-eyed collectors or even ordinary people sorting through pocket change. Stories of people finding valuable 2005 Buffalo nickel errors in bank rolls, inheritance boxes, or old jars continue to inspire coin hunters today. The possibility that a 5-cent coin could actually be worth tens of thousands fuels the excitement. It reminds collectors that rare discoveries don't always come from century-old coins. Sometimes they come from modern change that passed through countless hands before its true identity was recognized. The most important factors influencing the value of these coins are rarity, visibility of the error, and overall condition. A dramatic error combined with high mint state preservation can send auction prices skyrocketing. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC play an important role, certifying the authenticity of these errors and assigning grades that determine their market value. This is how some 2005 Buffalo-era nickels have achieved remarkable prices from $31,000 all the way up to $152,000, depending on their uniqueness and condition. The beauty of the 2005 Buffalo nickel is that it bridges history and modern minting. It honors the past with a design inspired by America's frontier while showcasing the unpredictable nature of minting errors that can occur even in the 21st century. Each era coin tells a story, a moment when machinery misaligned, when a die cracked, when a planchet slipped or was mistaken for another denomination. These mistakes became treasures, standing out among millions of ordinary circulating coins. So imagine holding a 2005 Buffalo nickel in your hand. You look at Jefferson's modern portrait, then flip it over to see the bold bison. But something looks unusual, maybe a doubling in the lettering, a strange gash across the bison, a missing crescent edge, or a misaligned strike. Suddenly, that small nickel might not be just pocket change. It could be a rare error, one of the few worth far beyond its face value, possibly tens of thousands, maybe even one of those special pieces worth $31,000 to $152,000. These coins remind us that even in today's world, where production is precise and technology is advanced, unexpected treasures can still be found. And sometimes, they're hiding in the most ordinary places, right in your pocket. Imagine holding a small, worn Jefferson nickel from 1947, a coin that most people would overlook without a second thought. It's the kind of coin that gets tossed into a jar, forgotten in a pocket, or handed over without care at a store counter. But what if I told you that hidden among those millions of ordinary 1947 nickels, there exists one rare error version so extraordinary that collectors have paid between $66,000 and an astonishing $313,000 for a single piece? Suddenly this simple coin doesn't feel so simple anymore. Suddenly, that spare change in your drawer starts to look like a potential treasure chest waiting to be discovered. The 1947 Jefferson nickel stands at a fascinating moment in U.S. minting history. The nation had just emerged from World War II, and the special wartime silver alloy nickels were discontinued. The mint returned to the traditional copper-nickel composition, but the adjustment wasn't as smooth as many assume. New machinery, shifting production demands, and the rush to restore pre-war minting patterns resulted in an environment where unexpected and fascinating errors slipped through the cracks. And those mistakes, those tiny imperfections unnoticed at the time, are exactly what transformed certain 1947 nickels into some of the most sought-after coins in U.S. history. Collectors today hunt for these pieces with incredible enthusiasm. It's almost like a treasure hunt where the map has been lost, but the prize still exists. And the most incredible part? Some of these ultra-rare 1947 errors have been found in pocket change decades later. Imagine being the person who buys a soda, gets some change back, and unconsciously walks away with a six-figure coin in their palm. It sounds unbelievable, but it has happened before, and it could happen again. One of the most famous types of 1947 nickel errors involves striking anomalies, where the coin wasn't properly aligned or didn't receive a full, even strike. You might notice weak details on Jefferson's face or hair, or a reverse design that looks oddly uneven. But sometimes the errors are even more dramatic, off-center strikes so noticeable that part of the design is missing, or double strikes where the coin appears to have been stamped twice, creating a ghost-like second image. These dramatic errors are the kinds that can push a coin's value into shocking territory, sometimes well above $100,000, and in the most extreme cases, soaring to that jaw-dropping $313,000 mark. Then there are the planchet errors, where the metal blank used to make the coin was flawed before it ever entered the press. Maybe it was clipped, cracked, or improperly mixed. These kinds of mistakes create coins that look bizarre, almost unfinished, and collectors go wild for them. A severely clipped planchet, for example, can transform an otherwise ordinary nickel into something exceptional. And because 1947 was a transitional minting year, planchet issues were more common than usual, adding to the mystique and rarity of these coins. Another feature that has obsessed collectors is the full-step strike on Monticello. On error coins, these steps can appear distorted, doubled, or broken in unusual ways. To the untrained eye, these imperfections might look like simple wear. But to a knowledgeable collector, they are clues, signs that the coin might be something special. The better preserved the details, even with the error, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. One of the reasons 1947 errors can command such high prices is that the year didn't produce any major varieties like some surrounding dates. That means collectors searching for something special from 1947 often turn to errors as the standout stars. And when a date has fewer standout pieces, competition for the rare ones becomes fierce. The bidding wars at auctions can get intense, with collectors driving prices higher and higher, sometimes doubling initial estimates. In fact, one of the most legendary auction stories involving a 1947 Jefferson nickel error ended with a final hammer price of $313,000, leaving even seasoned coin experts stunned. The coin wasn't made of gold. It wasn't encrusted with diamonds. It wasn't massive or historic in a way that the average person would immediately appreciate. It was simply a small, flawed nickel, minted incorrectly, overlooked for years, then suddenly recognized as the masterpiece it truly was. That's the beauty of numismatics. It turns ordinary objects into chapters of history, into mysteries, into treasures. The 1947 Jefferson nickel reminds us that sometimes value lies not in perfection, but in the unexpected. Every scratch, misalignment, or double detail becomes part of a story, one that stretches from the mint presses of post-war America all the way to the auction houses of today. So the next time you check out at a store, the next time you clean your car and find a few forgotten coins, the next time you open an old drawer full of change, take a closer look. You might see Jefferson's familiar face, Monticello standing proud on the back, and you might think it's just another nickel. But hidden in plain sight could be one of the rarest, most valuable minting mistakes in American coinage, one that could instantly turn that small piece of metal into tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or maybe even one worth more than $300,000. Because history doesn't always hide in museums. Sometimes, it jingles quietly in your pocket, waiting for someone curious enough to pay attention. Imagine picking up a handful of loose change, letting the coins slide through your fingers, and suddenly noticing a simple Jefferson nickel from 1969. It looks ordinary at first glance, maybe a little worn, maybe a little dull from decades of circulation. But hidden in that mix of everyday coins, there exists a version of the 1969 Jefferson nickel so rare and so astonishing that it has sold for prices ranging from $49,000 all the way up to a staggering $266,000. And the crazy part is that this remarkable error coin looks just like a regular nickel unless you know exactly what to look for. That's what makes the story behind it so fascinating, and why collectors around the world can't stop searching for it. The year 1969 was a turbulent and transformative time in the United States. The Mint was producing millions of new coins to keep up with economic demand, and the Denver Mint, responsible for the DE mint mark, was working at an intense pace. When production speeds increase, so do mistakes. And in this environment, machines running at high pressure, dies wearing out quickly, quality checks struggling to keep up, some extraordinary error coins slipped through the cracks. Those few survivors, those tiny minting accidents, are the 1969 Jefferson nickel errors that have become legendary. One of the most prized errors from this year involves dramatic off-center strikes, where the coin is not properly aligned when struck by the dies. Instead of the clean, centered design we're used to, the image might be pushed to the edge or missing part of Jefferson's face entirely. On some rare pieces, you can see only half of Jefferson's portrait, while the other half shows blank metal. These are incredibly valuable because they provide unmistakable evidence of a minting mistake, and collectors love errors that are bold, obvious, and visually striking. Then there are the double-struck errors, where the coin is accidentally struck more than once. Sometimes the second strike is misaligned, creating a ghost-like image that appears to hover behind the main design. The result can look almost surreal: Jefferson's silhouette doubled, Monticello's steps appearing twice, or dates shifted slightly. It's the kind of error that tells a story of something going terribly wrong in the blink of an eye at the minting press. And the more dramatic the doubling, the higher the value climbs. But one of the rarest and most exciting types of 1969D errors comes from planchet issues, where the metal blank itself is flawed before the design is even struck. Imagine a coin with a huge curved clip missing from the edge caused when the planchet was cut incorrectly from the metal sheet. Or a coin struck on a foreign planchet. Yes, that happened too. These unusual, odd-shaped, or lightweight coins cause collectors to go wild because they are extremely rare and often instantly recognizable as mint errors. Some of these planchet-related 1969D nickels have been the stars of massive auctions, pushing values into that unbelievable six-figure range, sometimes surpassing the $200,000 mark and reaching the extraordinary $266,000 territory. But why would someone pay that much for a 5-cent coin? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, historical significance, and collector obsession. The 1960s were a chaotic period for coin production in America, and high-quality examples, especially those with dramatic errors, are extremely difficult to find today. Over the decades, most of these unusual coins were used, lost, melted, or simply spent without anyone noticing what made them special. The few that survived long enough to be discovered became numismatic treasures. Another reason collectors chase this coin is the challenge itself. Unlike some coins that have famous varieties or well-documented design differences, the 1969D Jefferson nickel doesn't have many predictable markers. Instead, the key errors are scattered, rare, and varied. This turns the hunt into a thrilling mystery, a game of chance where every worn nickel could be hiding a mistake worth thousands. For collectors, that sense of possibility is addictive, and the auctions? They tell the rest of the story. Whenever a pristine, dramatic, or unusually bold 1969D error hits the market, bidding erupts into a frenzy. Collectors know how scarce these pieces are, and the competition drives prices higher and higher. One especially dramatic off-center error shocked the numismatic community when it sold for that top price, an extraordinary $266,000, for a coin that most people would have passed over without a second glance. Think about that for a moment. A nickel worth 5 cents, minted over 50 years ago, transformed into a life-changing amount of money simply because of an error. Not a special medal, not a limited edition, not a commemorative release, just a mistake. That's the beauty and mystery of coin collecting. It teaches us that sometimes the most ordinary things can be extraordinary, if you look closely enough. So imagine this: you're sorting through an old coin jar, or paying for something small, or even unpacking a box of belongings from a relative. You notice a worn, dirty 1969D nickel. Most people wouldn't even glance at it. But you? You know better now. You might be holding a piece of minting history, one that could be worth $49,000, or maybe $100,000, or maybe even close to that unbelievable $266,000. That's why collectors always say, check your change. Check every coin, every date, every detail. Because history doesn't just sit behind museum glass. Sometimes, it rattles quietly in your pocket, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what they're looking for.